Suzanne McNeill with Design Originals, and today I'm here at CHA and I'm giving a little Make It Take It class on Zentangle Bunny with a little peekaboo card. That's really a surprise and a lot of fun. So if you want to follow along, first I'm going to take just a big punch and punch that out. I really like the punches with the handles because they punch really easily. So now I have my little card, and I'm taking a stencil from Dreamweaver and I'm going to trace through that. So first I want to give a little pen etiquette. I'm using a Micron 01. And you know, most of us are used to writing with a ballpoint pen where we write at an angle and we press the ink out of the pen. But these have a very fine tip. They should last for about 200 bunnies, so they're very sturdy if they're treated correctly. But with these, you want to draw almost perpendicular, and you want to pretend that you're writing on a balloon with a pen tip, so that that tip will stay good, and the cap actually fits on this end to be balanced better, and then you don't lose the cap quite so much. So I'm just going to take my little bunny, and I can trace right around through his ears, eyes, nose, mouth. He's one of my favorite ones. I could do 100 bunnies and do each one with different tangles. Oh, did I forget to tell you that Zentangle can be addictive? But I think it's a good addiction. It keeps you out of trouble. So now here's my little bunny, and here's another one I did. This is a stencil of a little apron. So you can see that every apron has different tangles, and that's so much fun to do the variety. So I'm going to go back to my bunny now, and I'm going to divide him into about 3 shapes. And I don't like real straight lines, so mine are just a little bit off. And I'm going to just choose to make one of the tangles, which is a very large grid here in the center. And then it's easiest for me if I turn my paper rather than trying to turn my brain. So I can do those exact same lines going the opposite direction. And when you do make large grid, you have choices because there's so many variations. Here's another bunny where I used a grid. This one used a grid. And this one actually used a grid, but look how different those grids are. So this one I'm going to do something even a little different. I'm going to draw a square on the bottom corner of my box. And I'm going to color in that square. And then I'm just going to draw a line up to the corner. So I'm going to repeat that same process in each space. Sometimes when I have a fairly large space, I'll actually use like a larger pen, like an 05 or an 08, because that colors in that space faster. Zentangle is so relaxing, and I can attest to that because sometimes I actually nod off and fall asleep when I'm doing Zentangle, and then I end up with these funny little lines going out. But that's the fun of Zentangle, because then I get to be creative and decide what to do as a variation so that those lines actually become part of a new tangle pattern. All the traditional Zentangle patterns are repetitious, and it makes it easy for even people who've never drawn before to learn to draw step by step. Just one stroke at a time. So I'm not really planning ahead what to do next. I'm just starting. You know, kind of like life is kind of like that. We don't really get to plan what we're going to do with our whole life, or I didn't. Had all these little surprises along the way that I had to learn to incorporate into my life. So now in the next section, I'm going to do a different pattern. I'm going to do one called Rain. So I drew a center line, And now I'm drawing a zigzag on top of that center line. I'm going to fill in the triangles. I like a lot of black in my pieces. Oops. Okay, I think I repaired it. You can always come back at the end and touch it up a little bit. Almost through with this pattern. And now I'm going to put a little dot in each one of these spaces, maybe 2 dots in this great big space. And you really can't make a mistake with Zentangle. You can create variations, but not actual mistakes. That one seems like it needs another dot. And then over in the last section, I'm going to draw really arched crescent moons. So now I'm just going to finish these little shell shapes or crescent moon shapes in this area. And here I'm doing part of a crescent moon. And now I'm going to go up and work on his head. I'm just going to do a little small spiral pattern in his ears. Just something to fill the space here. So he looks finished. Just love these micron pens. They give such a beautiful dark black color, and you just don't press on them at all. And now to finish the bunny, I sort of like for him to have a little head here. And now his whiskers. Now this is sort of an advanced technique. I want to start with the pen on the paper and then pull it up so I get a real light line and a little tiny whiskers. And then I might want to fill in his eye and his nose. Now for a special little look, I'm going to give him some blush. So I have a lipstick here. You could use chalk or regular blush. Put a little on my finger. Just a little bit of makeup. Gives him a lot of personality. So now, this is the really fun part for the peekaboo card. So I have a black piece of cardstock folded in half. Now these are magnetic punches is what these are. So literally they are magnetic. And I'm going to put one on the bottom. Now this one, it has a square corner here. These are all round corners. The top of it also has a square corner here, and these are all round corners. I'm going to close that. Contact. You can tell it's in the right corner. And just punch on that. And that makes a wonderful little peekaboo window for my bunny. I'm going to set him right under here. I could just show his face. I could just show his feet. But whatever, he's a little surprised when I glue him right down there on the back. And here are a couple more bunnies. They're all Zentangle. But they all have used different tangle patterns on their bodies. So they all look just a little bit different, but they all peekaboo right inside that window. So Dreamweaver makes these wonderful stencils, all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And these are some of the Tangle books. Here, this one uses a lot of the Dreamweaver stencils. And in case you wonder where I'm getting my tangles, well, you know, in here, you know, maybe you would look at this tangle and go, oh dear, where do I start? But what the books do is they give you real explicit step outs and variations of every pattern. So each book has 40 different patterns along with lots of samples for inspiration. So I hope you enjoy tangling. And I've so enjoyed being with you here today.